Yo, this is Damage Per Second Podcast. That is DPS Podcast. Back again on episode 233 on a Freaky Friday night. on a hot Friday night for some of us. Some of us, our AC units is not working correctly. Hopefully it'll cool down for the homie, my co-host here, Gaming Forte. What's up, Forte?
Yo, what's up? Well, guess I'm kind of used to it. My AC, as I'm getting a double whammy, because my AC at my store isn't working correctly either.
Oh man!
So I've been working in when it's 90. Like last week, when it was 94, it was 81 in my store. So it definitely felt better than outside. You could definitely feel the temperature difference when you walk through the door. So it wasn't that bad. Today, they came out and they looked at it. They said when we had the storms last week that the wind tried to blow the top of the AC unit off at my job. So it was like air seeping in. So they tested it and got it to work properly again. But that unit's like 30 years old. I think it was like 1998 when it was put in. So they said it's about on its last leg. So at this point, you just got to get a hold. I guess they just got to get a hold.
You have to get a whole new unit because the government. So like the freon that is in our AC units, you know, that now we doing old old guy talk now because this is all the stuff that you know middle-aged grown men talk about. But look, so the freon that we've been using in our AC units for decades is like really bad for the environment. And if you ever get a leak, it leaks out into the environment. It's just bad I don't know what it does to the environment, but it's bad. So regardless of that, what ends up happening is that now they create like this newer freon that's doesn't impact the environment. But the problem with the new stuff is they don't work with your traditional units. You gotta have a whole new inside and outside unit for your AC in order for it to work with this new freon, which means you gotta get if your outside unit goes bad, right, you gotta get, because like, you can't just replace the outside unit. It doesn't work with the inside unit if it's an older model for the older freon. So if one of them goes out, you have to replace both. And so if you need any of your units go bad, you gotta, cause this is what people were doing. And I did this. And shout out to family who work in HVAC. They were able to give me free freon when I needed it. Cause I still got the old style stuff. When people started just refilling the freon instead of getting whole new units, the government then jacked the prices up on the old freon. So now it's like over $100 per pound.
Damn.
Yeah. So it basically made it more expensive to just fill your old units with more freon than to just get a whole new unit. So hopefully it works out for you.
It's gonna work one way or another, but you know, hopefully this isn't the hopefully this isn't the road. I was like, please give us until next year. Next year, and then we can plan for it. But anyway, man. For it, so, but no, other than that, man, that's just it's been it. But other than like you said, what I've been doing, working. I have inventory at my own store, so I've been prepping for that. That's why I worked all day today, and then I work all day tomorrow. Then I work all day on Sunday, and I work all day on Monday. Then I have inventory all day on Tuesday, and then I'm off Wednesday and Thursday. So this is like the only time that I like kind of regret having my own inventories, because when I'm doing other people's inventories, I don't have to do nothing. I ain't got to prep my own store. I just have to show up to those inventories and help count. This one, I have to prep for everything. And it's kind of crazy because with all the moves that's been going on, Switch 2, moving the Nintendo Switch stuff to the front of the store, putting Microsoft in the back of the store, reorganizing.
Why you putting Microsoft in the back?
Because they didn't pay to be. They ain't paid to be up front no more.
They don't want to be. They don't care about being in front.
Well, I mean, Nintendo cared more, so Nintendo must have gave more money. So that's what happened. That's kind of how this works. Just like how PlayStation used to be in the front, and Microsoft moved to the front, and PlayStation moved to the middle. But the funny thing is, PlayStation has never been moved to the back. I wonder if it's just a company choice after that, like where they're putting the store, other than up front. But who knows? But yeah, so with all that stuff, and then we had Switch 2s today, so sold out of all those. Actually, no, I still have one Switch Mario Kart bundle, because I had a bunch of them, but I was able to give people those. Got a restock of Cyberpunk. Can't believe that people been buying Cyberpunk on the Switch 2. But guess what? They have been. It's crazy.
Hey, look, hey, look, man. I don't know what. Okay, look. So.
I don't know,
some things. There's some things that I'm gonna discuss them now, because there's some things that I want to discuss. So like prior to, like in the previous episode, we discussed the Cyberpunk update, the 2.3 update, and then I was saying, don't expect nothing. Well, for this update, I think I'm still right about that. Don't expect nothing grand, because if they were really going to do something that was going to be like a new DLC, they wouldn't shadow drop it.
Yeah.
They would actually market it like they did Phantom Liberty. They would show you what's in there, what it's about, really get you excited for it, and then they would drop it. They would tell you what the date is ahead of time. Like, we found out about this 2.3 update like a week before, and it was real mysterious, and then they delayed it because they said it wasn't ready. But, what we didn't know, at least what I didn't know, was that what was going on, like some of the LinkedIn stuff. So apparently there's another developer that is a support team that is working with CDPR and maintaining Cyberpunk, while CDPR is now working on The Witcher 4, and in a very much smaller case, working on Cyberpunk 2. This other studio is called Virtuos. And Virtuos had someone on their narrative team speak way too much about what they doing with CDPR for Cyberpunk, and they basically admitted that they are working on. So if you recall back when Cyberpunk first came out, they were talking about they canceled 2 of their DLCs. They had 3 DLCs planned for Cyberpunk. Then there was, the terrible launch and them trying to get back in people's graces. There, all the lawsuits, the class action lawsuits, stuff like that. And so what they ended up doing is that they just canceled 2 out of the 3 DLCs. The one that they kept, Phantom Liberty, mostly because it was so far along that it was just like it wasn't beneficial to cancel that one. We are very glad they didn't, because it's like one of the best expansions ever, right? Mm-hmm. And then so now that the game's got this resurgence, people are playing it more, people are making new playthroughs and doing different builds and all kinds of stuff, and it's maintained a certain level of popularity on PC and to a lesser degree on PlayStation and Xbox as well. Now they're like, you know what? Let's go ahead, and because the next Cyberpunk ain't coming out for a long time, so let's go ahead and just support the game, get these DLCs out, and so essentially, what this narrative writer for Virtuos has admitted in their LinkedIn discussion was, or not discussion, but you know how in LinkedIn could just look like a resume. It's like everything that you've done, that you're doing a current job, so on and so forth. And she's gotten in there that she's working with CDPR's narrative team, and she's working on DLC expansions for Cyberpunk. She's completing the work on that was already done. She's working with voice actors to get them to come back in and do lines for the DLC. So essentially, that stuff's coming. but it's just not coming anytime soon. But it's no surprise to me that people are playing Cyberpunk more now, because it's just they're really supporting the game. And even though it's not really like, it's not a live service game, but they give it the kind of support that you see live service games get. Even though there is no like consistent content coming out on like a seasonal basis, they do like a lot of updates, things that the community says they want. They look into if it makes sense, they add it. I would love for them to kind of change how they do the save system, but whatever. But yeah, that's long story short, that's what's going on. What's up, guys in the chat? See we have some some AMD supporters here, you know. Good for them, I guess. Forte, you know what? Hold up. Let me tell you what happened to me. Well, actually, I think you already know what happened to me, but
oh, please.
The DPS community doesn't know what happened to me. So I went on vacation.
Yes, this man.
And we went out in the mountains.
He's out there with Yogi Bear.
Oh, there definitely was bears. Now I didn't see any. I wanted to. I really wanted to see a bear.
No, you didn't.
Because I've never seen, outside of like the zoo, I've never seen like a bear up close. Now I'm not saying, I'm not like doing like I was about to say something. I'm not doing one of those like, you know, kind of like you're being stupid right now kind of stuff, right? I mean, I want to see a bear from the safety of like my car or a home. I just want to see it out the window, because this mountain had like there's signs everywhere saying don't feed the bears, you know, telling you what to do if you run into a bear. And I'm just like, wow, they got bears like that out here. But I guess I was just a bit disappointed I didn't see any. But I did see is a ton of deer, and these are like deer. Mountain deer are just different than your regular deer. Mountain deer are not afraid of humans. Like, I don't know if just people just been out here feeding them like crazy or what. I don't know. But they just like we driving down the street, it's a deer walking up the street like he's on his morning walk.
Oh, wow.
Not running across the street so that you almost hit them. Walking up the street. And I mean, just like not hiding in the woods or nothing. Just walking up the street like, howdy, neighbor. Just keep it going. I'm like, what? Oh, no.
That's wild.
My wife was trying to back into the driveway, the Airbnb. It's a deer in the street in the way. She's just looking at her like, can you move? And the deer just looking at her like, I wish you would hit me. And it's just, why are they so just unafraid of humans? It's just the wildest thing. So, yeah, outside of that, as soon as I get there, I nearly killed myself. Like, as soon as we got there, I nearly killed myself. We went to this part of a lake, and we've been to this place before. You know, we've taken like, we do this thing every time where we take pictures with the kids, and they've been growing up. You know, so it's like the first time we went there, they were like, you know, my daughter was like 3, you know, we're tiny and stuff. And now she's 9. And so they're older. And so we go to the same exact rock, and we have them stand up on the rock and take a picture. And we did that. And we're about to get back in the SUV to go to the house. And see, look, this is tall people problems. I'm 6'4". And I know there's some short guys, some short kings out here that like, we don't care, SloMo. I hope you crack your skull or some crap, right? But tall people issues is that sometimes you bump your head on things because you just like, you're not paying attention to like the fact that something is a lot like shorter than what you think. And so this happens to me occasionally when it comes to like vehicles. And especially if I'm getting into a vehicle I'm not quite familiar with. Remember, you know, a few months ago, we had to get a new SUV because some freak accident tree falls on our SUV. So we got this new SUV, and I barely drive it. My wife always drives it. I got my own car. And so of course, I drove all the way, on our road trip to the mountains. I drove there. And so we're getting back in the vehicle. And I just wasn't being careful. And the seat doesn't really go down a lot. And so I got to kind of like, it's a tall SUV. So I got to kind of like hop into it as well as duck my head down. Long story short, I smashed the top of my head into the top of the frame of the vehicle, the SUV. And I mean, I was seeing stars for 30 seconds. And my wife was just like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you," for 30 seconds, "Do we need to take it out? Are you good?" And I just couldn't even respond. I was just kind of like half my body laying on the seat, just like holding my head. Like I was holding my head like if I let go, my brains are going to spill out. It was just that bad. And so after that, I couldn't go outside without the sunlight being too bright. My head was killing me for the first 2 days. My balance was a bit off. I think I may have had a concussion. So I was a bit concussed. And I played football back in the day, so I've had concussions before. Some of them, I didn't realize I was concussed during the game and just kept playing.
I didn't realize I was concussed. I did not realize how bad this was.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until later, and then there've been other times where I absolutely knew I was concussed. I didn't say anything, but yeah. So I've had concussions before, but this was kind of similar to that. And man, it was sleep was rough. But all that said, we're out there. We had a good time, nonetheless. And I brought my Steam Deck, which is part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I got to, use my Steam Deck extensively. It was my gaming device while I was out, and I didn't get it a ton of time to use it. I will say this: I got more time using it than I thought I would. I didn't have a ton of time to use it because, of course, we're just doing things and stuff with family, but maybe that first day and a half that we were out there, I basically just stayed in the house because I was a walking mash unit because of my head. And I wasn't trying to play games too much because staring at a screen was kind of hurting. But other than that, I mean, it was all right. I played. This is what I kind of figured out with these PC handhelds. And I've had Steam Deck before. I sold it, and I've had the Logitech G Cloud, which I don't think is all that good. And I've never had a ROG, but everyone that I know that has one, they all kind of say similar things. And maybe this changes with the Xbox Ally, because it's going to be, when it comes out, it will be the most powerful PC handheld on the market. But how I use the Steam Deck OLED was, if it was a really demanding game, I turned on GeForce Now. I'm just I have standards. This may sound like bougie gamer time, but I have standards.
That's what it's coming up to. I have standards. Go ahead. I got standards.
I tried to play Cyberpunk on Steam Deck natively. And you can play. Look, you can have a playable experience, but I'm telling you, even on a 800p screen, it don't look that good. It don't look that good, man. And look, there's a certain level, a standard, especially with Cyberpunk. It's a visual, one of the best looking games ever made. Why I want to play one of the best looking games ever, and it looked like something on the PS3. It's just, and I'm the screen's already small. And so I'm playing around with the settings that I can I know how to optimize a game. I've been on PC for a long time. So I'm playing around with the settings and trying to figure it out. And I got it to a good, happy medium, but I really, like, after a good hour and a half of playing around with that, I was like, why am I bothering with this? I have GeForce Now.
Right.
I can just use GeForce Now, which I normally rock on the free tier, but whenever I'm going on vacation, stuff like that, I always bump myself up to the ultimate tier. That's $20 a month, gives you a 4080 in the cloud. Bro, I was playing Cyberpunk 4K, 60 hertz, max settings, path tracing on. It's fantastic. So for the demanding games, that Expedition 33, rough on the Steam Deck. Rough. Played it on through the Steam Deck on GeForce Now. Fantastic. Some of the less demanding games I played was like Dark Deity 2, which I'm still playing. I'm almost done with that. And that's game is super not demanding at all. I actually started playing Telltale's The Walking Dead.
Oh.
The first season. Played through that again. Oh, I love that game. It's so good. So I started playing it.
Just the conversation with the cop at the beginning. It's really cool.
Yo, dope game, right? Dope story, dope characters, like iconic characters. Lee is that's the dude. Clementine, just the growth for that character throughout the series. Fantastic. So I started playing that. I think I probably will finish playing it on there because it runs perfect on the Steam Deck. Sure, older game, right? But like, there is no, like, for the hardware, there is no, the settings are, I gotta play around with the settings in order to make sure it runs well. No, I just run it. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Mass Effect 1, I just run it. Like, it ran great on the Steam Deck OLED. So, those are cool. Those were cool. But I had a good time, and I got one of my I got this Xbox 360 controller replica that I was using whenever I had it docked, because I had a room that I could just use as like my game room, TV connected with the dock I bought off of Amazon for the Steam Deck OLED, connected up. Just, whenever I had the time to do that, which, in the beginning of the trip, I had all the time in the world because the kids and the wife was out going to the pool, going on hikes and stuff, and I was sitting in the house with an ice pack. But yeah, man, it was pretty good, man. It's pretty good. Can't complain. What else? I think I talked about a lot. I think I might have to do let me ask this question. Let me throw the poll up. We'll throw the poll up now. And then as the show goes on, we can see how it goes. So you will be shocked by this. I bought a game.
What?
I bought a game.
Okay.
So the reason why I bought this game, some people gonna be like, SloMo was going to be hating. But look, the reason why I bought this game is because if people start talking about game of the year, I feel like I need to be well versed in the conversation. And so Arcade said mind's eye, not mind's eye.
Yeah, you would never do that to yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely not in the game of the year conversation. I bought Death Stranding 2.
You actually bought it?
Yeah.
I would have just let you could have just logged in on mine and played it.
No, that's fine. It's fine. So, because you said you were going to play it. So I didn't want to, that's fine.
Brother, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I'm in firm belief that Expedition 33 is game of the year. But
oh Lord, here we go.
I'm not going to be one of these people out here, especially some of these voters that declare a game of the year. It's 6 games on the nominees list, and they played one, and they're like, it's game of the year, and it's like, how do you know? Because you didn't play anything else. And so, not that I'm a voter, but if I'm going to be giving our opinions on things like last year, I think I played just about every one of the games that was nominated. And that wasn't by like I need to play those games. It just I was interested in them. The only one I think I played, I wasn't interested in, was Balatro. But I played it because it was like in Game Pass, I think, right? So that was different. Now, people are talking about how some of the criticisms about the first game have been addressed. And I'm like, okay, so we'll see. Now, I'm playing the game, but my question to you guys is going to be, should I stream my playthrough? And so that's what I'm going to do. If you guys want to see me play Death Stranding, I'll stream it. And I'm going to put that in. But Forte, you seem to be pretty shocked by this.
You said I seem to be shocked by this?
Yes.
No, I'm not shocked by it. You've always been the type of Yeah, no, I am shocked by this. I can't.
Just keep it, bro.
I can't. I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. As bad as we talk about package deliverer, FedEx edition / DLH, I thought you would.
But look, even on the first game, I played it.
You did?
So all my criticisms of the first game were from firsthand experience.
Yeah, and that's the one, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not surprised, but I didn't expect you to go to the well again after your experience in the first one. See, I'm the first one to tell everybody I'm hating on the game just because I just don't like the premise of it. I didn't play the first one. I own the first one.
It was goofy, bro.
I've never said that the game was terrible. I just said, bro, Package Simulator is not for me. If you ask me about, I said, and I even told you earlier, SloMo, when I told you I had a copy of it, I said, dude, the one thing I'll give DS2 is this is like one of the best looking games that you will ever freaking see. And that's the same thing with the first one. But looks can only get you so far. And when I just look at that game, I get anxiety and feel like I'm at work because I deal with FedEx, the post office, UPS, DLH. I deal with them all the time. So when I see 1,000 packages on somebody's back, and I know the game's more than that. I know that I know it's way more than that. But that's the thing that they showed us the first time that we saw gameplay in the first one.
Look,
and I was like, what is this? But go ahead.
Yeah, I know me.
I know you. You're right.
If it's some dumpster juice, I'm going in.
Did you get this so you can play it on? It's not on Steam yet, is it? It's only on PlayStation.
No,
right?
no, it's only on PlayStation. Yeah,
it didn't come day and day. Yeah.
If this is some dumpster juice, y'all gonna hear it. I am going in. I will give it a fair shake.
Listen, if this thing is dumpster juice, I'm gonna tell you, why did you think it was gonna be anything different?
Well, no, because look, it's look, Jeff Keighley.
just because he has a man crush on, just because he got a man crush on Kojima doesn't mean you have to have one too. Two wrongs don't make a right in this world, slow.
Look, I ain't saying I got.
But if you was about to say what I'm about to say, that don't mean nothing. That wrong does not need to be righted by you.
No, but look. It got so we will discuss the reviews and the reception of this game. It's a topic. It's a rapid fire. So we'll get to that in a moment. I'm just saying it's out there. If y'all want me to stream it. If not, I'm still going to play it because, again, I want to be a well-informed gamer. I want, not saying that to be a well-informed gamer, you gotta play these games, but we talk about this stuff. And I never want to be discussing like what's a better game than another. And I didn't actually experience that game. Like, for example, a very well-known person in games media recently came out and said they thought they liked Avowed more than Expedition 33.
Mm-hmm.
And they are subject to their opinion.
They are.
And there are a lot of people who are telling them, you're an idiot, but they ain't played both.
Mm-hmm.
They only played one. They haven't played Avowed, but just because they have a issue with the platform or the company that made it, they'll just say, of course that game isn't as good.
Mm-hmm.
But I've played both. And I know Avowed isn't as good as Expedition 33. Doesn't mean that that games media person can't enjoy that game. I'm just saying that when people,
even
I
know how
like
to play
to be,
the game though, we be looking at these people sideways now.
You they don't know how to parry in that game. And the majority, look, I'm gonna keep it a buck. The majority of the people I see that try to not give Expedition 33 the credit it deserves are people that I know suck at parrying in games.
How let me ask you this. How long did you think it took when you fight, when you're going to the island, you fight the first one where you're fighting the guy and you have to basically tire him out by parrying? How many times do you think people just sat there in disbelief, like, I can't beat him. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Every time I fight him, he hits me and I'm dead. But I'm sitting here fighting him for 10 minutes and nothing's happening.
You gotta parry him I think it's like 140 times.
Oh, it's ridiculous how many times you
It's somewhere between 120 and 140 times. After like the 10th attempt, I got him. But it's just that like when I fought him, I was so like underpowered at the time that just like missing a parry literally just killed everybody. Yeah, except for Monaco. Like Monaco kept surviving every time. So like when I beat him, it was just Monaco left alive because I missed one parry, but then he still survived, and I was able to parry the rest of him until he just gives up and he blows up or something. As you get stronger, and then you use your Pictos correctly, you use your Luminas right. You put first strike Lumina on your characters. Mm-hmm. You can attack him before he attacks, and if you're strong enough and you got a right build, you never have to parry at all.
That's true.
You can just knock him out before he gets a chance to go. But again, that's after you're stronger and you're either like in Act 3 at least, or you're in New Game Plus, that kind of stuff, that you're able to do that. When you're fighting him in like Act 2, which is I think the earliest you can fight him. Yeah, you don't really, you ain't got all that stuff. But I'll say all that to say that like I can tell some of these people dodging and parrying and timing, it ain't really their forte, so to speak. And I don't know if they play the games with their toes, or they're using their teeth, to hit the buttons or something, but they don't know how to do it. And so people who they don't play the kind of games that require you to have at least some competency in that. I see those are the ones that are complaining about Expedition 33 for the most part. And so I'm not shocked by that, but I bring all that up to say that like I see so many people in the gaming community speaking in a position of authority, or a position of like they knowledge of things they don't understand because they haven't really experienced it. And so it's funny I say that considering that someone might be looking at this and talking to me, but you was talking about the Switch 2 screen this week, SloMo. I'm gonna get to that later. I think there's a difference between talking about technical things that you don't need to experience because other people have done the testing to already determine what it is, and it's a certified fact, versus someone's opinion about a game that like you need to actually experience to really get the full understanding of. Like there's a difference there. And I want to make sure that when it comes down to the end of it, when we get to December, November, whatever, and we're having these discussions as we do every year on DPS, a lot of those nominees on the list, I will have experienced them, and my opinion will be pure on which one I think deserves the win. So that's part of the reason why I did it. The other part of the reason is that I actually saw some things people were saying, people who I trust that aren't just capping, were talking about some things that Kojima made better for this game compared to the previous game. Previous game sucks in my opinion. I know some people love it. I think it's pretty polarizing, but I think the game sucks. And there's some things that, like, part of the reasons why I think it sucks is that it took too long to get going. Like the prologue period, your prologue period shouldn't be like literally like 5-6 hours. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. Or longer. When the game finally gets going, most people had already checked out. I do think the story's a bit goofy. I think naming someone Die Hard Man is stupid. Naming someone Dead Man is stupid. But you know, this is what Kojima does. So like, I understand there's going to be some of that nonsense in there, but I'm willing to give it a chance. But if it sucks, you know, I'm gonna tell you it's gonna suck.
Looking forward to it. You better tell us.
And I need to say this before we get into the rapid fires. I've been meaning to say this for a minute actually, but I keep forgetting. I actually wrote it down in the outline for the show so that I didn't forget, and I almost forgot it again. So I'm glad I'm saying this now. Many episodes ago, it was maybe about 5-6 episodes ago, we were discussing Gears of War Reloaded, right? Mm-hmm. Logic was here. The homie Logic was here. And I went on a very long rant about how Xbox was giving a free copy of Gears of War Reloaded to people who own Gears of War Ultimate digital. But at a time period where they knew very few people even owned the digital version, because this was back in like 2014. So I went on a rant because they wanted brownie points for something that, like, you know, you're giving a free copy to barely anybody. Mm-hmm. And then I was upset because they said, oh, if you didn't own it by this particular date, then the digital, that is, then you could not get a free copy as well after they made their announcement. And I said, well, clearly if someone decides to go try to buy it now that they know then they're screwed. They're SOL. Turns out that's not the truth. I don't know if they changed their mind. Maybe they listened to DPS and they heard my eloquent rant and they said, you know, this guy SloMo's got an amazing voice. I love the gravitas of it. But outside of that, he makes some good points and we're just going to change things. I don't know. Maybe it was an accident. And they forgot to check how many people bought the game at a particular time. But I got a copy. Got a message from Xbox Live. Said, hey, look, you get a free copy of Gears of War Reloaded. I wasn't supposed to, but maybe they changed their mind. So in that case, I do have to commend them for, you know, doing something that I thought, or correcting something that I thought that was not the best. So I think that, and also the game that's been playing. The game that's been playing is Fortnite, of course, but this mode is fantastic. This is the Battle Royale Blitz mode, where it's only, instead of 100 people in the Battle Royale, it's 32. The map is smaller. They give you all, like, it's like a random RNG thing going where they give you these abilities, and then the loot is like everything that's been through all the seasons. It's so much fun. And so for the people who say they don't like Battle Royale games because of the downtime, like game logic. He loves that, right? And there's the downtime. He doesn't love that. He hates it, actually. The downtime in between firefights and battle royale games, you don't have that. Like, it's just matches gonna last 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's just 32 people going at it. The map's too small for you to hide. you get into fights and you're just like, feel like you're fighting the entire servers. It's pretty dope. I like it. So yeah. Anything else you want to say before we get into the rapid fires, man? We really don't have a ton of topics today, but we'll try to get into them.
Let's do it. Oh, really?
Oh, wait a minute. One more thing. Dang. Shout out to everybody that came through for the Cyberpunk secret ending live stream I did the night before I went on vacation. That was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It was fun. Maybe I will stream more Cyberpunk endings. It depends on if you guys want that. But
yes, we want it.
That was fun.
We want it.
You don't want it.
We do want it. I actually watched a little bit. I didn't watch a lot, but I watched some of it.
Yeah, it was fun though. It was fun. I wonder if I do it again, I want to do it with a different character, one of my male V characters, with a different kind of build. Oh boy, here we go.
No, this is what we want you to do. You know what game's coming? You know what game got announced to be officially coming out on the same day as the Xbox Ally, right?
No.
The game that they showed on the screen when they showed it off for the first time?
Oh, Silksong?
Yes.
Hollow Knight?
Yes.
I own Hollow Knight. I haven't played it yet.
That's what I'm about to say, because I know you're probably, I don't know how you felt about roguelites back then, but I know you gotten really into them with all the different ones that came out, like Hades and stuff like that. So it'd be really cool to watch you play Hollow Knight, the original Hollow Knight, because I actually I played it before, but I just recently purchased it on Switch 2. It's just a Switch 1 version, but I'm definitely, because I'm buying Hollow Knight, even though you're getting it in Game Pass, I'm buying it on a Switch 2 too, because that's the type of game that I kind of would like to play like in that environment. So it'll be really cool to watch you actually go through the first Hollow Knight, and stream it. So yeah,
Luca has been trying to get me to play Hollow Knight.
Man, Hollow Knight
every
is
time,
awesome, bro.
She's been trying to get me to play Hollow Knight. I feel like since like January or December or something. It's been ever since she bought the Steam Deck. She's been trying to get me to play Hollow Knight. So maybe I'll finally do it. Yeah, she bought one last year, I think.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, she did buy one last. I remember that.
Shout out to Luca.
It's been a while since I talked to Mama Luca. Me and SloMo's mommy.
Never ever said that. So let's.
He said I've never said that.
Are you ready?
Luca. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Halo Studios has reached out to a very small indie developer who was working on a roguelike isometric vampire survivors kind of game within the Halo universe called Spartan Survivors. And they reached out to them and gave them their blessing to keep forward with the game, even though it's using their IP, and they're not associated with Xbox in any way, shape, or form. They still said, you know what? Forget that copyright infringement. You make that game. We think it's pretty dope. And I think I saw this and I said, oh, that's nice. I think more companies should kind of have a little grace, a little forgiveness, especially if the game is good. Matter of fact, only if the game is good. If it's a good game, cool, let it rock, man. Because of course, you're gonna sign some deals so that like you're getting paid for this, right? Like you're if the game starts selling, you're getting a percentage of the sales. But a game that's good, that you didn't develop, that you didn't have to pay for, get developed, and you can make it a part of your IP and your universe, and what's the problem? I think more of this should happen. It's too much of like Nintendo just, murdering anyone that attempts to do something like this. Sure, the game's garbage. Cease and desist. Stop trying to, hurt my IP, bro, with your garbage game. But if it's a good game, I think you should do more of this stuff. Forte, what do you think, man?
No, I do too. I mean, the biggest thing that a lot of people always want is just more variety when it comes to like the IPs that they like and love the most. It wasn't the fact that people wanted a battle royale in Halo because it needed it. It would just be something to actually freshen up the player base and bring a new player base to a game that would probably enjoy seeing something like that. And the one thing that we all know is the more people that are playing a game, even if they're not playing the mode that you're playing, if the game is being supported, even the different ventures and stuff, that just means that that's more money coming to the studio to be able to do more things. So I think this is a really good move. And, with the direction and everything. Now, the biggest thing comes down, even knowing this called Halo Studios, it's still 343 at heart. And how I feel about, how I feel about 343. I like 343. Never, didn't like them. I just didn't like some of the decisions they made. But this is a good one to actually reach out and start making partnerships and stuff like this, so they can actually, kind of push a different narrative when it comes to the Halo franchise. Because, as of right now, what is Halo? I mean, we know it being an open and basically action shooter with a very good story that just hasn't been realized over the last 3 games. Like, the story in Halo is freaking epic. The lore is really deep. Pause. But it just really comes back to the execution that has happened with the game. Like, I actually enjoy Halo Infinite. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the direction they went, but there was just a lot of mishaps and misfires along the way, especially when it came to like the release of the game. So
yeah, it's a campaign that's intended to be continued on.
And it's
like
not.
they intended to yeah, exactly, and it probably never will be, and which makes the story worse off,
right.
In the long run, because it's a story that's not complete. And considering how they finished Halo Guardians, where that was a story that wasn't complete, and because they kind of did a soft reboot on where they were going with Halo, we got the conclusion of a lot of those storylines off screen, which is always, to me, a big issue.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that kind of always bothered me, especially once we see this new direction, they burned one of the best antagonists that they had in the franchise with Atriox. It's like,
and so there's probably not going to be a conclusion to Atriox Body's chief. And Chief's not getting his lick back, unfortunately.
Right, but, because exactly, because that was the thing that like amped it up for me in Halo Infinite. Was like, yo, Atriox just bodied Chief. And that only got you so far through the game until you realize that Atriox ain't gonna be nowhere else in this game. You're dealing with his little brute buddy, but
his little buddy with asthma.
Yeah, his little buddy with asthma and
he's coughing every 5 seconds. Yeah, just like, come on, man. I'm trying to play Atriox.
Yeah, that's right. I want Atriox, but like we're not getting that. But I will 100%. Give them the flowers if they could pull off the execution of bringing something like this and molding a different experience inside of Halo. I always thought that they tried to do stuff like that with the Spartan Assault game, the one that was the twin stick one that they made. It wasn't 343 that did it. It was in the arcades and stuff. But I thought that was a good direction to go into. I thought Halo Wars was another really good one. That's how we ended up with Atriox in the first place. But they haven't done enough of that. So seeing that this is actually on the horizon or even being talked about, I think it's a good move, and it's gonna hopefully re-energize people with some new people into the franchise. And then by the time we get back to a mainline Halo game, which I 100% agree in the in the direction of kind of just letting Halo just be still for a while, because the last thing that we knew about it is what we got the last time. And it's kind of crazy. That's been 4 years ago since Halo Infinite came out. So
yeah, you know, this whole scenario with them allowing this small indie developer to make Spartan Survivors is, remember this. I don't know if you remember the story or not, but like the story of Halo Wars' creation was that, you know, I think was it Westwood? Well, I can't remember the name of the developer, but the name of the they pitched the idea, I think, and then Microsoft said that's cool, go ahead and do that, but they never said anything to Bungie. And then later on, they're like talking to Bungie, like, "Hey, we're making a Halo." a Halo RTS game, and Bungie's like, you're making a what? And then like there was some tension between those two developers, as like Bungie never really gave like a, you know, not that they need to give a sign off. Like Microsoft owns the IP and the company. They own the stapler that you're using right now, Bungie. Shut up, right? But it's more of a, hey, just, you know, a courtesy. You know, they created the IP. They feel some ownership over it, even though they don't really own it. But like, it's like, hey, maybe say, what do you think about this kind of spinoff? And if we do that, what ideas do you have ahead of time so that you're not like throwing them, you know, for a loop when you just mention it out of nowhere? That's it. Like, it's a cool pivot to see that's how mismanaged and mishandled that was. And even though this wasn't something that they developed, they find out about the game, they see it, and they're like, oh, okay, we bless it, go ahead and make that happen. I think that's a cool idea. I think a nice transition from old 343 in Microsoft to the current one.
I like how Floodzilla's up here arguing with you about him not, you know, being done with NVIDIA. He going over to Lisa Sue, and then he gonna say, I have hatred in my heart for Lisa Sue.
Who?
Floodzilla.
Me?
No, Floodzilla. He said I ain't got nothing but a bottomless well of hate for the esteemed Lisa Sue. I was like, bro, you know you.
No, like, he says you. He's talking about me. He says I.
You.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have hate for? Or do you?
No.
Would you ever go to AMD?
I own an AMD card. It's my son's PC, but I mean, I own one.
Would you game on an AMD card though?
Yeah.
When's the last time you gamed on an AMD card?
I don't know, man. I would though. You know, if it was a better card than what I currently like looking to get, then yeah, I would buy. I wouldn't game on one. No big deal. Care.
I don't know, man. You've been Team Green for a long time, man.
I mean, I would have to deal with the worst features, the worst content creation tools, the worst a worse upscaler, a worse frame generator. I would have to deal with a lot of worse things.
But also deal with Intel
I would game
when
on
it comes to your CPU.
Oh no, that's different. Yeah, my next build would be an AMD CPU. That's not even a question.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say, because I'm sitting there like, how could you say all of those things are worse, but then you deal with Intel when it comes to all of the
That's why, baby. That's what I'm saying. Like the only reason I got this current, I have a i7
1390K or something.
Yeah. Whatever, the 13700K. It's a decent CPU. It was always like, but I got it because it was on like super duper sale, and I really was already gonna go to AMD, and I was like, you know what? Let me just like, this was before the bottom completely fell out on Intel. Like if this was like today, I would be getting what is it? The 9900 X3D? Is that the one that's good for
9700 X3D? No, it's 99.
No, the 99. Yeah, the 9800 one is just like, if you just game, if you don't do any content creation stuff, this is the one for you. The 9900 X3D is the one where if you know everything, all that stuff, it handles it. And so
I want the 9750 X3D.
Great. Stop letting the chat derail us, man. Anyway, moving on.
No, I want the 9950 X3D. Good God.
Oh, really?
I have.
Oh, really?
Delta Force. Forte, you ever heard of Delta Force?
Sure have. Played it before.
Oh, you like it?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it takes some time to get used to because that aim is mouse and keyboard is real brutal.
Yeah, it's no. Well, interesting because that you bring that up because the game it does not have native controller support, correct?
It sure does not.
Well, it may soon because it's coming out to Xbox, Series X and S, and PS5 August 19th.
August 19th, which I am actually looking forward to because not because it's coming to console, but the fact that we'll probably get proper controller support on the PC.
Right now, here's the thing: is that's not always a guarantee because Valorant came to consoles, and what they ended up doing was they just kept the console separate from PC. They never gave PC any kind of like official controller support, but then it's got controller support on, consoles. So they kind of keep them separate, but it's a hero shooter with very different kind of gunplay than what Delta Force is. I believe I've never played it. I don't want to speak out of ignorance. Is that kind of like it plays more? What does Delta Force play like to you?
It plays like a more open Rainbow, like Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six. Okay, yeah.
It plays like a more open version of it to me. It moves a lot faster. It does move faster, but like the aiming and the pinpoint accuracy you can have with a mouse on that game is ridiculous. And from distances that you shouldn't be able to kill people with certain weapons.
This makes me kind of feel like PC's not going to get any controller support for that game. If they do have any kind of cross play, it's just going to be between Xbox and PlayStation. They'll keep PC separate. But I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. This is a pretty popular game. It's been a PC exclusive for like a year or so. And it's estimated to have between 9 to 11 million players that have played it since last December, and averages 150k concurrent players on Steam by itself. So it's a pretty popular game, I think. I mean, I know visually when it came out, I saw a lot of people testing if their rigs could run it because it was pretty demanding visually. But outside of that, like, I really didn't have any. When I saw the gameplay, I was like, this looked kind of like a Rainbow Six MMO, and I was just like, I don't know if I want that. Not saying that's what it plays like, but that's what it looked like to me. And so I didn't jump in. And then once there was no controller support, I was like, well, forget that. But
it's a good game just to see where, because I hate playing keyboard and mouse. Because I mean, granted, because I haven't done it enough to like really, really love it and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But it is very, very satisfying when you click on somebody's head and they just die. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like when you sit there and see how accurate you are, it's wow. And then the recoil is almost non-existent on a mouse. It's hard to add kickback to a mouse because all you got to do is just drag your, ever so slightly with your DPI input, just drag your mouse down ever so slightly and the gun barely moves. It's like it's like with the thumbstick, you have to put a little more pressure on it to keep the recoil down. But on a mouse, it's like just subtle movement. It's kind of crazy, but no, I agree. That when the first time I played it, I was like, Rainbow Six I said, this definitely feels and looks and runs like that, but just like I said, in a bigger environment. But like you said, the keyboard, mouse, controller support was always the thing that kind of held it back the most. You could work around it, but that takes away the ease of use for a lot of people, and it's not the most easiest thing to go into your config files and change everything around. And I don't even think that stuff saves. You have to do it like every time you log into the game to do it. But yeah, August 19th, I'll definitely try it on console to see exactly, but I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, that they do a complete different, because even Valorant, their updates are split. They're not consistent across console and PC. Like they're on two different builds all the time, because one has full controller support where Valorant, like you said, on PC doesn't.
Right. So like I think and Arcade in the chat asked if it has controller support as well. We don't know that for certain. I didn't see anything that said that was the case. But if they don't outright talk about it, if they say there is no crossplay between PC and consoles, there's no controller support.
There's no
because
controller support, right?
They know that like the mouse and keyboard, which this is a spectrum, I think, right? Because a lot of people complain about PC cheaters or mouse and keyboard, and it's really like there's some mouse and keyboard guys that suck.
Oh yeah.
There's some mouse and keyboard guys that are really good. There's some controller guys, PC guys complaining about aim assist. But there's some controller guys that aim assist or not, they trash. They're a bullet dumpster. And then there's some controller guys that, can get down with the get down. So it just really depends on the player. But if they
dumpster they can get down to get down.
But if there's no crossplay, that means there's not going to be controller support on PC, and they feel it's going to be a competitive imbalance between the two platforms. So they're just not going to do it. So we'll have to see once we find out. Of course, we'll talk about it here on DPS. Next, you ready for the next topic?
Sure.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Death Stranding 2 is currently the top-selling game on the PlayStation Store. So congratulations to Kojima and Kojima Productions. It also, let me double check this, because I haven't looked at this in a few days, so it may be different now, but like the 24 hours after its reviews went up, Death Stranding 2 on the beach had a 90 Metacritic with like 60 or 70 some reviews, and currently right now it has a 112 reviews and it's still a 90, so it's not moving off that number. So anything that hits a 90 on Metacritic is typically considered to be a must-play kind of game. And of course everyone's saying that now that the game of the year conversation is now between Expedition 33 and Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Now, Forte, did you get a chance to play it yet? I know you said you had a code.
No, I have. I put it in yesterday, but I worked all day today, so I didn't get a chance to play it yet.
I haven't played it as well, although I did install it because I was mostly waiting to see the results, because I wanted to kind of put it to the chat, to the DPS community, if they wanted me to stream it or not. And I didn't want to stream it but like 2 hours in or something. I want, you'll get my raw impressions, of it, if that's what you guys want. So
raw impressions.
Raw.
How raw?
Real. Super raw.
Super raw.
Yeah. No skin. Just all.
No skin. What about sheepskin? Sheepskin raw?
Oh my. No. Moving on. So. What do we think here about? Neither of us played the game. Next week we'll have way more informed opinions on it. We'll have a whole discussion on what we feel about Death Stranding 2 next week. But as far as this week goes, if the game lives up to expectations, if Kojima has shored up a lot of the complaints about the first game in this one, and the story isn't as some kind of like complete, bat-ish, crystal meth fueled insanity like the first game was, if all that stuff is better, which I mean, like the first game was like an 83 on meta, now this is a 90, so clearly the critics feel it's better. if the overall gaming community feels better, is that enough to dethrone what is the front runner right now, which is Expedition 33? What do you think?
Me personally, full transparency, because I haven't beat Expedition 33 yet, but I haven't even touched Death Stranding yet. It would be hard for me to. Expedition just feels like it has that weight behind it, like Elden Ring had behind it for like the whole year, like Metaphor did for like all of last year. It just feels like certain games, like, not saying that Death Stranding can't be there, it just really depends on like the longevity of how long people are talking about it. Like when it comes down to like tech and like the overall look and stuff of the game, I think that I don't think it's going to be a game that's going to come out this year that's going to look better.
Visually, I've seen some stuff that's just like, man. And look, and I saw a character artist complain about this, because typically he says that when people see beautiful visuals, they give credit to the game engine, but they don't give credit to the artists that use the game engine to make the amazing visuals that you're gawking at, which I think to a degree, he's absolutely right. Also, there are like it's a balancing act, because he's talking to
the ability
exactly
to make that
right, and he's talking to people who don't understand the technology. And he's a character artist himself, so he's trying to minimize what the game engine does. But not all game engines are created equal, which we've seen. Like Frostbite sucks. Rest in peace to the homie. But Frostbite sucks, right? But Frostbite can make some really great visuals, but it's cumbersome to work with. Or let's say, for example, you're a great artist and you're trying to create a very detailed statue in a world or something. Something that would be like, ooh, that's pretty as you're playing the game. But assets are more expensive in one game engine than another. So now you might have to remove some details off that statue in order to make it playable, the game playable with the character going into a particular room or an area or a temple or whatever. Like these are things that like they have to work with. Like, we don't have enough memory for this. We don't have enough memory for that. When I did my video on black hair and I had to learn about like how they create hair in games, the reason why they even created hair cards to kind of mimic what real hair looks like, or attempt to just is because if they back then on the hardware, if they really did real hair, like it would tank the game. And so artists had to be creative with that. But your creativity can be hindered by the hardware or software that you're using. And so the game engine is important. It's just, everyone's important in this aspect. If you got some trash artists, you're gonna, how we talk about Bethesda's artists all the time. Like we think some of their character models look hideous, and it's just like maybe Bethesda needs a better artist. I don't know. It's just like it is something to that where you're like, okay, give the artist some credit. They killed it. And I think that does need to be acknowledged. And I would love to acknowledge it for another reason, is that I know Kojima ain't one of them character artists, so it's good for someone else in Kojima Productions to be getting some kudos instead of just Kojima. Because the way people talk about that man, they act like he built the whole entire game himself.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the case.
Right. Anything else you want to say on? I mean, like, did you? I don't think you even answered the question. Do you think this is Well, do you think this is going to compete with Expedition 33 for Game of the Year? Do you think it'll win?
No, I don't. I mean, I like I said, it's hard to say because I didn't play it yet. It's all about playing it. I just don't think. I think this is the thing. I think it's Expedition 33's to lose. It will take a very, very special game to unseat that, and unless Death Stranding can invoke,
but before take, it's Kojima.
Who cares? Can he invoke an emotion like people invoked inside the Expedition 33?
Absolutely, no, I don't think so.
Like
I mean, story wise, it's not even a competition.
Well, that's
at
what
all,
I'm saying. So I've
yeah.
been spoiled, so I kind of already know what the latter half of the game is and like the last chapter of it. So I'm just waiting to experience it myself. But just hearing what happens, I'm sitting there like, yo, I'm gonna have to have conversations with people after this. so that's
some tissue on hand,
right? and that's the thing. So there's not too many games that can like elicit a response like that from you, and those are used. And then don't let it be a game that also has really freaking good gameplay and do something that is all. Do something that's always been done, but they find a way to make it better.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that Expedition has done that most games inside of that type of genre, even though they have executed well, they just didn't put it all together like this game has. So I can see Death Stranding being there because guess what? It's probably going to be the only PlayStation first party. Well, no, we got Ghost of Yotai coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah. I think if Ghost of Yotai is at least as good as Tsushima, it'll get a nomination.
It will get a nomination. So that's kind of where I'm sitting with it at this point. I
think right now, if we it's almost July, so we're halfway through the year. If we looked at it right now, I would say this Expedition 33, this Split Fiction.
Yep.
Death Stranding 2 is probably going to get in for certain. So that's three games. There's something called Blue. What is it? Blue Streaks?
Blue Streak. Yeah.
Blue Lines. Whatever. Blue something. Like I haven't.
It's like,
blue cocaine lines. I don't know. But it's a blue something that like I keep hearing about. It's a little indie game. I think I didn't like even like really care to look at it because it was like a puzzler or something. And so I'm pretty sure someone in chat's gonna be like, slow-mo blueprint. There we go. Thank you. Machine. I say blueprints as I saw the chat. See, the DPS community is on it, man. Y'all some sharpshooters.
Maybe they got your back, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, blueprints. Blueprints probably would be the indie darling. That's there. I know some people be like, but isn't Expedition an indie? It's not really. They did have a publisher, even though they're a small team with a very small budget. Kepler was their publisher, so they weren't really indie. Blueprints. I don't even know if that's truly indie or not, but I can see that one just, being in. So that's 4. So there's 2 other games that, we don't know who will fill those spots yet, but we'll have to see. But I really kind of feel like, there's some years where it doesn't matter that they got 6 nominees. It really comes down to like 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like in 2018, it was God of War and Red Dead 2. And, what came out the year Ragnarok came out? That
Red
was
Dead.
No.
That was the first. That was 2018 that Red Dead came out. Ragnarok was
Elden Ring. Elden Ring, right?
Yeah, Elden Ring.
Yeah, so it was between Elden Ring and Ragnarok. I think was that Elden Ring.
When did Ragnarok come out? Was that 2022?
I don't remember.
It didn't come out in 2021. It had to be 2022.
Let me look.
Elden Ring came out. Elden Ring came out
Elden Ring came out in 2021, I think.
Yeah, because it came out the year. It came out within the first 6 months.
Sorry, Elden Ring came out in February 2022.
Oh, it's 2020. So that's the same year that, because God of War didn't come out in the first year. Because I was complaining. I was like, why y'all put 2021 on the screen and that game ain't coming out in 2021? So yeah, it had to be God of War, because God of War came out the year after that.
Yes, it was between Elden Ring and God of War. So, but the other nominees was The Plague Tale Requiem, Horizon Forbidden West,
was awesome.
Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. We knew it was just really down between Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok. Like that, there was just no, there was no real competition there with the other games. Last year, I don't remember. Good grief! What won last year? It's already out of my head. I feel like last year was more of a, it wasn't just a couple of games kind of thing. And then the year before, was Baldur's Gate 3 won, but I feel like that one was pretty open because there was like Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
I mean, Wonder was up for Game of the Year that year.
Yeah.
So had 2 games up there that year.
Yeah, but it's just that. But my point is that some years it's just like everyone else is just happy to be here, just happy to be nominated, get that little sales bump, and the people are thinking about your game again. Awesome. Congratulations for that. You ain't winning Game of the Year though. That's between these 2 other people. And I think that's going to be this year. It's going to be Expedition. It's going to be Death Stranding too. And maybe Keeley, pull some strings for his homie. Who knows, right?
Yeah, pull some strings for his homie.
Okay, you ready for this last rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Rapid fire topic, the final one. I have to discuss something that I'm on vacation. I'm sipping a Mai Tai by the water. I'm chilling, and I watched
Jay-Z verse.
Maybe. So I'm chilling. I'm chilling, and I pull out my phone and I see a video from a channel that I enjoy called Monitors Unbox. And the video, this is a sister channel to Hardware Unbox, which does amazing work.
Yes.
Tech tubers, mostly in the PC arena, but Monitors Unbox is focused on monitors, TVs, screens.
Were you fighting with somebody on Twitter about this too?
Oh man, I was fighting with a lot of people on Twitter, man.
Because I saw someone reply to your tweet saying this and that, then you clap back. I was like, what's going on?
Look, every now and then I have to take my shoes off, take my socks off, and just get in the mud with the pigs. Just get in the muck. Slap them around a little bit, let them know what's what. I have to do it from time to time. Okay. Because just, it's weird. Because everyone's got fanboys, and people act like Nintendo doesn't have fanboys. But they are just as ignorant and stupid as everyone else's fanboys. It's just that they're just not as loud because no one really pays attention to Nintendo. But when they do, then you start to see, the weirdos. And so essentially this comes down to something about, it's talking about Monitors Unboxed, talking about the screen. They did a video, they did testing on the Nintendo Switch 2 screen. And sorry, if you don't like facts, if you don't like verified testing from people who are professionals and actually have the know-how to test these things, yes, the screen may be fine for you and you may be able to look past these things, but what you're playing on is the slowest response time screen that many people have ever tested. Sorry. What you're playing on is a screen that Nintendo marketed as having HDR, but it doesn't. It's fake HDR. It's Fox HDR. It is rated at 405 nits. The bare minimum you need for HDR, for real
800.
HDR, is 800 nits. TVs, typically when you see something that says it has HDR 10, that means it's got 1,000 nits. It's 1,000 nits. The minimum TVs that have actual HDR is 800. The monitors that you see out here, all of them will put HDR on there. They put the bare, if they could get that monitor to trip Windows software to think it has HDR, which is over 400, they're going to put it on there. But do you actually have HDR? Turn it on and see what happens. It ain't it.
What up?
So a 400 nit monitor, we acknowledge, ain't real HDR. But when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 screen, oh my God, you say this and people are like, you're only saying this because you want attention. Yeah, you want attention. You're just engagement farming. I see you. You have Twitter blue. I'm angry. Hey, you want to talk about the fact the screen sucks? No, I'm going to talk about you. You're a bad person. Why are you bringing these things up? Why you gotta call Nintendo out? Huh? I don't understand. Bad. What? This is leave Nintendo alone. Leave the billion-dollar corporation alone. Who sold you a minimum $450 product that has a worse screen than the Switch 1. Sad. Very sad. I'm just saying. Yeah. It's just funny. All I said was Nintendo should be ashamed of themselves. They should be embarrassed that they put out a product that's like this. And I'll even go as far as say this. It being so bad tells me that there must be it must need a firmware update. There's gotta be something outside just the screen. And I'm not saying the firmware update is going to make it dramatically better, like it's going to be the best screen ever, but for it to be this bad, for it to be them marketed as a 120 hertz screen, but no games, have the screen running at 120 hertz, there's something not right there, right? And so maybe that there's something that Nintendo can do firmware wise, software wise, that can make this better. It's not using overdrive in any way, shape, or form. And most monitors all use overdrive in order to kind of, those really low 1 millisecond, numbers that they get that really, really shows you the difference between that great monitor and just your average run-of-the-mill monitor. They use overdrive to make those things happen. The screen's not using any of that. So I wonder if there's just something that Nintendo didn't do or they didn't realize was not working correctly to get that done. So I'm saying that as this could get better. Or at the very least, when people call these things out, when people have independent, objective reviews about things, which should have happened if Nintendo actually gave review units to people on time. Anyway, but if when you do that and people get the feedback and they say this isn't good, then you will get some, okay, cool. Maybe Nintendo will fix it with a later revision of the Switch 2. Like say when they get all their stock out and they're starting to build more, maybe they're like, hey, look, let's talk to Samsung. Let's get some things fixed up with the screen. Let's figure this thing out. Because if you never complain about these things, they never address them. Because either they don't know it's a problem or they think you're fine with it. And complaining at people who are complaining about these things makes you look ridiculous. So you bought a product, you were lied to about the product, or the product isn't living up to the expectations that they marketed to you. And instead of saying, "Oh yeah, let's get this fixed," Let's do better. Hey, maybe you can fix these things. You're like, don't complain about those things. Shut up. Don't talk about it. What do you do? These are grown adults acting like this. What logic is that? There is no logic to it. It's just dumb. You're a dumb person. Sorry, if you're the kind of person that gets upset when people have objective, constructive criticism about a product, and then you go to the whataboutisms where you don't own it, so you can't talk about it if you don't own it. I didn't say, in my personal opinion, with my personal experience, it's bad. I looked at another person who has it and tested it, and they're a professional, and they said it's bad. And I repeated what they said. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between saying I personally played the game and I think it sucks, which if you didn't, you're a fraud, versus, hey, I looked at technical analysis on something and said, this isn't good. They should do better. Apparently, people don't have enough brain cells to figure out the difference there. So sad. Forte, what are your thoughts about the screen 2? The Switch 2 screen, my bad.
So this is where I turn my brain off, because I have a Switch 2 and I enjoy my Switch 2 and I play my Switch 2 predominantly in handheld mode. I know it's not the greatest experience. I know it's not the best experience, but I am just happy for the fact that I have a better version of the console that I had before, with a better screen and a better experience overall. Like the games that I played that were on my original Switch run and look better, run and play better on the new Switch, unless it has the updates. If you pay the $10 upgrade fee, then they look better too. It is kind of a tragedy that they, do what everybody does when it comes to faking the stats that they put on the box, telling people that it has this and it doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't have or I'll say this, not that they're like lying, because they're not really lying. There's just a standard that
they're stretching the truth.
Exactly. They're not,
and everyone does it. Everyone does it. Like I said, there's so many TVs that have HDR on the box, and then when it gets tested, it's 400 nits. That's not HDR. This is why when you go into a Best Buy and you're like, oh, I'm looking at these TVs, and the Best Buy rep with his khakis comes over and says, hey, hey Forte, you need some help, and you're like, pause on that, bro. I'll let you know when I'm ready. And you're looking at every TV, and you're going to ratings.com and looking them up.
Love ratings.com.
Why do you do that? Because you don't want to get got. You don't want to think, I got a good TV. You spend $1,500 on it. You bring it home and it's doo-doo. It's ghosting everywhere. You're watching a movie. You're watching your football team play, and it looks like when the running back is breaking it open for a touchdown, it looks like it's 12 of them running behind them. You don't want that.
There is a reason.
So apparently that's different. Apparently you should have different standards for video game consoles than you do for every other electronic product that you buy.
This is
stupidity.
The funny thing. Yeah, this is the funny thing though. Best Buy has, the LG section for OLED. They have the Samsung section for TVs. They have the Bravia for Sony section. And when you look at the high-end TVs, and there's a reason they call it high-end, y'all. People don't realize that high-end truly means the word high-end. So when you look at an OLED in the high-end section that has true HDR, true black levels, like contrast levels are like tuned in, because that's the thing else people don't realize. The videos they play are tuned in exactly to give that TV the best experience that you're going to get when you're in that store. You're not going to be able to replicate that at your house, because guess what? They are set up individually in the store to look as good as they could possibly look. Now, it's not to say you can't get a good picture on a mid-tier TV, because guess what? Best Buy, they're doing it. They're showing it to you, but you don't have the tools at home to do something like that. And you're also not seeing all of the negative downsides that the TV has, because they're not really showcasing that type of stuff on the TV. When's the last time you seen fast moving stuff on a screen consistently to see what the motion blur really looks like on that TV?
Right.
When you
Forte, remember the little scam they used to run with the hertz? So
yes.
once they knew, consumers started to figure out that like lower hertz meant worse. When LCD was big before LED or OLED, so they would have like, so which one is it? LG. They all have their own fake name for, instead of just saying, hey, yo, it's a 120 hertz screen. Instead of just saying it's the 60 hertz screen, they would go like True Motion 120.
Yeah, that's what it was called.
And True Motion 120 is 60 hertz.
I'm like, yo.
True Motion 240 is 120 hertz. It's like, it is lying to people without lying. Because if you tried to say, hey, you lied to me and said this was 120 hertz, and we said, no, we told you this was True Motion 120 hertz. No, excuse me, 120. True Motion 120, which isn't 120 hertz. You just thought it was because we put 120 in there. With we tricked you. And so they do these things because they know that some consumers will get fooled by it and they'll buy it. And they know a lot of people don't do their own research. But that's just true. Because people don't do their research to find out what does True Motion really mean, and it's just some buzzword. Just cut the 120 in half by 2. That's the real hertz of the screen, and you're like, oh. So it's not picking on Nintendo. Because we do this to Microsoft, we do this to Sony, we do this to Nvidia, we do this to AMD, we do this to Logitech, we do this to Asus. We do that to everyone that makes technology. If you try to get over on us, or if you provide a product that doesn't live up to expectations, we will have to call you out on it. It literally just said in this I literally just saw a vivid HDR. Literally just saw a vivid HDR on there, and the HDR is not real HDR. So it's just like I literally just saw it on Jumbotron.
That's wild.
To finish what I have to say about this, and the Forte can say his thing, then we can move on. This doesn't mean you can't enjoy a Switch 2.
Right.
Like, if you're enjoying your Switch 2, and I think people lack the emotional maturity to understand that there can be constructive criticism about a product that they enjoy without getting defensive. Look, sure. Something that I love Mass Effect 2. Love one of my favorite games of all time. If you don't like Mass Effect 2 and you say, I don't like it because I used to be able to have the ability to pick up items and use it as armor and different guns and all this other stuff, and I don't have that anymore, I can't say you're only saying that because you hate BioWare. Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's a legitimate criticism of the game. It's not perfect. It may be one of my favorite games of all time, but it's not a perfect game. And so I have to acknowledge that you said something that's true about it and move on.
Right.
If you're a iPhone fan and you love iPhone, you love everything with the I in it before a basic word, apparently. But someone says, I don't like the fact that iPhone get all like the best features like 5 years later than Android. Your response can't be, F you. You're just the iPhone hater. You dirty droid with your green bubbles. Like, that's just, but that's what they say. But that's just like, that's a lack of maturity, because it's true. iPhone gets these features later than Android. If you're someone who wants to be on the cutting edge of that kind of stuff, that maybe the iPhone is just not for you. But that doesn't change the fact that you love your iPhone. Doesn't change the fact that I love Mass Effect 2. Doesn't change the fact that you can enjoy your Nintendo Switch 2 and be loving Mario Kart World and can't wait for Donkey Kong Bonanza next month, and the screen still be underperforming. These are two different things. And I would love for somebody, or not somebody, because there's plenty of people, this amazing DPS community, some of them, who are mature enough to acknowledge, I like this, but it's not perfect. And people who have different value on what they like may not appreciate that they were told one thing and apparently it's another. That's all. Forte, any last thoughts on this?
No, man, it's like I said, I enjoy it. I think sometimes people inject their feelings into things. Like when I saw that you put up the video, when I saw that you had retweeted the video of them talking about it. First of all, let's just talk about like the picture that they showed, the video of it sitting on a counter with the screen on it. That was I was looking at it, like, dang, that's a really good looking video. Like clear, you can see the screen perfectly. I was like, yo, that was a really good, well lit shot that they did of the Switch sitting on a counter with the game playing on it. And I was like, dang, that looks like a picture. But yeah, it looked really good. Like it was a really good looking picture. I mean, video that looked like a picture that was playing. But for the most part, people just need to understand, like, just because a person has an opinion and you don't like it doesn't mean you have to go to war with them about it. Like I know how he feels about things that Nintendo is doing, and that is okay. He is saying the truth. He's speaking his truth, and I can't deny it.
It's not even my truth. No. Well, it's not even my truth.
Well, you're speaking.
I'm talking about
truth.
fact.
Yeah. I'm considering it your truth because you don't just parrot what other people say. You actually go and look at it and analyze it and come to your own conclusions. So you are in fact speaking your truth. You're speaking the truth of everything that you looked at and said, like, hey, this is what I see and this is what I agree with, and you're putting it out there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I look at it as like, dude, it's a Switch. It's better than what I had before. It could have been better. I want it to be better, but I'm not, it is what it is on that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that Nintendo does what they do, but they do it because they know they can get away with it. They know that they can put out a handheld that is better than the one they had before with better features, but it's pretty much still the same thing. And I've seen people complain about it, like on Reddit, people, videos of people trading in their Switch because it wasn't what they expected and stuff like that. But I also know that there is more people looking for a Switch 2 than there are people getting rid of their Switch 2, which means ultimately the overarching amount of people that are like participating in this game of truth or dare with Nintendo, the more people are choosing the dare that Nintendo is going to give them what they want versus asking for the truth of everything that Nintendo is actually doing.
Great, agreed. It's not going to change the fact it's the fastest selling console ever and will continue to do well. And, and I'll pick one up when Fire Emblem comes out. It's what it is. I will do what I did with the Switch 1. Oh, you gonna love it, man. Three Houses
Yeah, I
is
picked.
fantastic.
We finally got a used copy and something that I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this up today. It was like $30.
But, you know, and I'll do with the Switch 2 that I did with the Switch 1, which I played probably 95% docked than handheld. And it'll be for, you know why. Anyway, let's get you ready to get into the main topics, man.
Let's go.
All right. Main topics now. Rapid fires are over. Let's discuss Hellblade 2's Enhanced Edition. Ninja Theory announced this a few weeks ago, and then they gave us some details. So this is what you're getting in the Enhanced Edition, which is also coming to the PlayStation 5. It's going to come with an enhanced photo mode. Okay, here we go. Developer commentary, if you're into that kind of thing. A dark rot optional game mode, which I want to know more about because that seems pretty interesting. I know there was some complaints about like not enough combat in the game, and if that thing is about just all combat, I may jump back into that just to do that. You know,
yeah,
it is what it is. Anyway. But also a performance mode.
Continue.
A performance mode that targets 60 frames per second on an Xbox Series X, a PS5, and a PS5 Pro. Oh, something's missing there. I feel like, hold on. Xbox Series X.
Little man that coulds missing.
PS5. And the Xbox Series S, yeah. Little guy, I guess he can't handle 60 FPS. Must be that GPU. Right, Flood? Flood know what I'm talking about. So this part, but this, I have some questions here. I keep bumping my mic. I need to stop doing that. I have some questions here. And I know you got some questions.
I have a lot.
But here's my first question. Why are these Xbox first-party games getting performance modes when they go to PlayStation? But they did not have performance modes at launch. Because this ain't the first one.
Nope.
So was it? I'm gonna say for me, and this may be my personal opinion. Some people may disagree, but I think features like performance modes, where like I don't know what the percentages are on Xbox exactly, but Sony came out and said that 75% of the people who play on that platform, if they have the option of a performance mode and a fidelity mode, they play a performance mode. When I play on consoles, if I have the option, I play on performance mode because for me, less than 60 frames per second is unacceptable. So when you launch your consoles in this generation and you launched it on, we got the monster that eat monsters for breakfast. You marketed on, we target 60 FPS and sometimes 120. That's what Aaron Greenberg said. Your own dude, your own executive. That's what he said. And then you start getting games coming out. The first one was Redfall, 30 FPS. Then we found out later on, they didn't even know that Redfall wouldn't have 60 frames per second at launch. And so that had to come 6 months later after the game was already dead. Starfield, Todd Lion Howard out here before the game saying, oh, well, you know, we created our own lighting engine and we did all these other things and we just didn't want to compromise the visual of the game. And so therefore we didn't have a performance mode because we think it would compromise the way it looks. What happened 6 months later? You have a performance mode. You lied. Now these games are showing up on PlayStation, and games that didn't have performance modes on Xbox are now having them on PlayStation. Fascinating. at launch. Fascinating. So is the PlayStation gamer more important to get all those features than the Xbox gamer? Do Xbox gamers not matter as much? Forte, what do you think about that?
Oh man, so you being messy. The thing I'm gonna say here is I enjoyed Hellblade 2. I played Hellblade 2 day one, but not on an Xbox. You know why I didn't play it on an Xbox, SloMo?
Because it was at 30 frames per second.
Sure was. I was like, I refuse. I booted that thing up on my at that time. I was on a 37. I think I was on a 3070 at that time. Yeah, 3070 Ti at that time, and enjoyed every bit of that game because I was able to get the performance I wanted out of it. And the problem is, and this may not be the case, but it's the perception that meets reality, which is the thing that people are going to talk about, is why does it seem like the only reason this game is getting a performance vote is because it is coming to PlayStation 5. We already knew it was in the works a long time ago, but it just seems like all of these games, with the exception of a few, like Indiana Jones was 60 frames per second at launch. Doom was another one that was 60 frames per second at launch. But there's been countless games that weren't at launch. Like, you know, Starfield was not 30 frames. It was not 60 frames per second at launch. They came out with a performance mode later. It's like, why do we have to keep waiting for this stuff to be implemented into the game instead of it being there day one? You know, that's my biggest thing. Like, I would have loved to see, you know, not really the DLC and stuff like that. I get that stuff is being worked on and, you know, it's a plan for that to come out later. But like all of the things that they add when it comes to like, you know, picture modes and stuff like that, things that are kind of staple of a game. You know, when I see features like that added, I'm like, dog, that's something that should have been there day one. You know, there's games that are in development for 3 years and have all of that stuff in there already, and they're a lot more ambitious in certain things. And not saying Hellblade isn't ambitious, because the things that they do, the motion capturing in that game is like there are no better, probably outside of what Naughty Dog does. But even then, I think facial tracking in with Ninja Theory is just, they're in a league of their own when it comes to that. But I just don't like the fact that, or just don't like the narrative around the fact that it seems like Xbox is only adding these features and these improvements to the game because it's going to another platform, and maybe because they want to get that nice little PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced sticker added to their thing so people can, like, you know that it's a game that, you know, best played on the PS5 Pro. You know, why does the Xbox Series S gotta be like, I had mine since day one. November 2020, I had my Xbox. I still have it sitting right here, even though I don't even barely play on it anymore, because 90% of the games I play, or 99% of the games I play, are available on PC, so I don't have to play on it. But I still feel like a person that paid $500 for a console, and let's be for real here, this is when they were still talking about power, and they were still talking about the narrative. Now, I can't hold them to that now, because they completely abandoned that ship. That ship has sailed a long time ago. So I can't say in 2025, Xbox is all about power. But in 2020, 2019, when they were selling us this system, when they were talking about Hellblade and they were talking about all of these games, like, you know, Redfall and everything that was coming out, Starfield, the narrative was play these games on the most powerful console ever made. Play Xbox Game Pass on the most powerful console that was ever made. And we are and basically what's happened is now the better version of these games are coming to a completely different platform. Now, that granted should have the best version of the game because it's the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is more powerful than the Xbox Series X. So I don't even knock the fact that the game's going to look better, slightly, run better. I expect those things to happen if you're spending $700 on a console. Just like when I spent $1,500 for my 4090, I expect things to look better and I expect them to run better, but that don't mean that you shortchange the people that bought your console day one and give them the worst version of the game that they could possibly get at the time. Instead of taking the time to say, we're going to release the game when it's feature complete, especially when we're talking about performance modes and stuff like that. The fact that they are adding, and half these games, like when Todd Howard came out and said that it was our creative vision to run.
He was not. That was a lie.
Like, what did you just say? What you?
It was a lie. He's lying, man.
You put that in an interview, and guess what? Literally 7 months later, oh, here's a performance mode. But guess when the performance mode came out, SloMo? When they were promoting their new DLC, Shattered Space. I was like, are you serious? So no, the game just, no, it wasn't the fact that you couldn't do it at 30 frames. You couldn't do it at 60. You just didn't want to launch it until you had the new DLC so you could have something else to basically say, here's another reason why you should play Shattered Space. 60 frames per second on all of performance mode for the whole game when you when the patch comes out day one. So not only can you play Shattered Space, but you can also play the base game at 60 frames per second of the performance mode. I was like, you done lost your mind, bro. Guess what? I already played it at 60 frames per second. Matter of fact, I played it at over 100 frames per second. And it wasn't because you gave me the opportunity to do it. I had the opportunity to do it because I just had a system that could brute force it to get it to where I wanted to get to. I'm tired of developers, or not developers, because I don't really think it's the developers. I'm tired of publishers and platform holders telling people that they need to wait for the best experience of a game, or they're telling you that they can't do it for this reason. And then all of a sudden, here we go, off to the races, especially when it comes to another platform. I don't care if it comes to the PlayStation 5. I own it. I can play it wherever I want to. It's the fact that a lot of people played that game day one, either on a PC when it came out, or they played it on an Xbox that they owned, either a Series X or a Series X. And they did not get the best experience of that game day one. But all of a sudden, now we're seeing the best version of the game coming out when it's going to other platforms. That's wrong in my opinion. But some people are going to say that you're overreacting, Forte, whatever. I'm just saying it's the truth. I played the game day one and I experienced what I wanted to experience. What about you as an Xbox gamer? What about you as an Xbox gamer that could only play it on an Xbox? Were you happy at 30 frames per second? You might tell yourself you were at the time because that's the only way you could play it. But how do you feel knowing that a better version of that game is going to be playable by not just people that play it now on an Xbox, but the people that didn't even own an Xbox when it came out 2 years ago? That's
I know for a fact, I know people in this community that decided to buy pre-built PCs because of things like this, because they had an expectation of a certain level of quality. I know, like on Discord and stuff, I've had conversations with people in regards to really, really cool, like great discussions with people on what next gen means, what next generation means, right? Like, and a lot of people bring their own personal perspective, the personal biases of what next gen is, what they want to see. I want to see more dynamic worlds. I want to see CPUs be pushed to the limit now that they're kind of unshackled from the Jaguar CPUs of last generation. Games where different game designs and more worlds that, like, where you go into a town and you can go into every house, or NPCs that actually are doing things instead of just standing in one little area and having the same 3 conversations over again and walking in a circle or something like that. Like, some people feel that's next gen, and that's fine, right? Or current gen, but because next gen has already happened. But
yeah, I do want to say
some people.
Let me say this before you go.
Okay.
I just want to give Machine XP his flowers, because this is how you respectful. And the biggest thing he says, DPS gaming. Yeah, no doubt. I'm just saying, hopefully Xbox has a better handle on delivering performance day one with games, regardless of multi-plat. And I agree 100%. I'm just killing them right now because this is a game that came out over 2 years, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we're seeing this now. They have done a better job over the course of the last 6 to 7 months with that. Like I said, Indiana Jones, perfect. 60 frames per second everywhere. Doom, perfect. 60 frames per second everywhere. I just want to see that continue, and but that's the thing. I don't want to keep going down that road of people saying like, oh, it's okay if they want to, it takes a long time to develop games. Yeah, it takes a long time to develop games. Just because it took you 5 years to build the game doesn't mean it's ready in 5 years. Maybe you need to give it another half a year or another year after that to actually iron out all the kinks to make sure the experience you're giving people day one is the experience that everybody's going to get. I don't care if a game has, usually this is what they used to do, SloMo. They used to have, the game would come out if it was like a time release. They would have, like, I think, matter of fact, when Tomb Raider came out, Tomb Raider was just called Tomb Raider. It was just called Tomb Raider. And then when it came to PlayStation a year later, they called it the definitive edition. Why? Because it came with all the DLC and all of the stuff that was not a part of the game when we got it on Xbox first. That is something that is more enticing or more tangible to, like, oh, you improved certain things in the game, or you added extra features to the game that made it, that made the value of the game be better because you're charging a higher price. You're still charging somebody $60 for a game that came out a year ago, but that was acceptable. But the performance in the game was the same performance that you got when it came out on Xbox.
That's where I was trying to get to. Some people feel like, because last generation, the vast majority of games were 30 frames per second. But that's what was only possible with the hardware at hand. Now, the current hardware, next generation hardware compared to last generation, is capable of having games that, regardless if the design in those games is you consider to be the same kind of design games that we got last generation, doesn't matter. Those games are running far better at higher frame rates.
Right.
And so to some people, they consider that to be a next generation feature. The same way some people think the DualSense controller itself is a next generation feature, considering that it's the haptic feedback is something that you don't get on the previous consoles. Like, when they stopped making sure that even their own first party games had the option, because you're going to get people who, like, I don't care, there's a minimum 30 frames per second for me. I want the game to pop on my OLED. I want it to look amazing. And I get that too. That's your personal preference, and I'm not knocking it. But there are people who just I don't care if it's blurrier. I don't care if the resolution is lower. I don't care if the graphical settings are lower. I don't care if the anthroposcopic filtering is at X8 instead of X16. I don't care. I want 60 frames per second.
Yep.
I don't care that you gotta turn ray tracing off and you gotta use regular screen space reflections to give me my 60 FPS.
I don't care if it's
use
1440p
regular SSR and give me my 60 FPS. is someone else's preference. That's a lot of people's preference. And for them to ignore that on Xbox, but make sure it's a thing on PlayStation, it's a bad look for them. Because for them, it makes it appear as if the gamers over there are more important.
Bro, people don't realize and this last thing I'm gonna say on it. People don't realize this. Everything you just said is 100% factual. The funny thing is, they put 4K on the box. PlayStation actually put 8K on the box before, which is crazy. I was like, yo, it really says 8K because you can go into a menu and see a car in the 8K. It's crazy. But they did it. They both did it. PlayStation did it. Xbox did it. It's crazy. TV manufacturers do it. The funny thing is, like you just said, when the Xbox Series X was coming out, I didn't even say it had to be 4K. I said, bro, I championed the fact that they were doing. I was like, listen, you guys are finally going to get a chance to experience what 60 frames per second actually feels like, because that was the expectation. It wasn't that 4K 60 frames per second needed to be the option. I said the system should have been 14. No, people don't realize how good 1440p looks with high-end textures. With high textures and 60 frames per second. They just see 4K and think 4K like, oh my God, 4K looks good. But guess what? I could run a game at 4K right now and have lower texture quality, and it will be a sharper image. But the actual environment, the texture quality and stuff like that could look muddy as heck. People don't realize though, you can have I'm not gonna say I can, but you can have 1440p with high texture settings and it look better than 4K on your Xbox or your PlayStation right now. Just at 1440p, but it's the buzzword. And that's and like I said, this isn't even just an Xbox conversation. This is just everybody.
It's a console gamer thing. Yeah, because they don't have I'm not blaming console gamers. It's the ignorance of it isn't like belligerent or on purpose. It's literally they haven't experienced what PC gamers experience, where you get into when you go into a game settings and they have graphics or visuals there. And when you're on console, you see fidelity mode, performance mode. You may see turn on HDR and calibrate that. Maybe you don't. You may see a couple more options, but they're minor. Like turn off motion blur sometimes. Turn off chromatic aberration if it's there. Most likely it's not.
It's not.
On PC, we see the whole gamut of everything that they are doing in the game to make it look the way it looks.
And they tell you everything that it does.
So when you acknowledge that if I turn on performance mode, it's a lower resolution than fidelity mode, everything looking worse wasn't resolution. Because it wasn't just resolution they turned down. They turned down a lot of other things in order to achieve that performance mode. Not saying you shouldn't want it, but what I'm saying is that it's a lot more involved. And so if Forte's right, if you're playing a game at 1440p with max settings, and then probably getting a higher frame rate or the same frame rate that you would have got at 4K, but you had to kind of optimize your settings at 4K to make that happen. It generally will look better with the 1440p max settings. It depends. Sometimes it depends, right? Like depends on the game. Like if you're playing Cyberpunk, I'm sorry, but I'm going 4K. I'm going max settings.
Max settings. I'm a drop. I can do it.
Path tracing. I have a 480 Super, so I can do that. I'm gonna turn on path tracing. I'm gonna turn on DLSS balance so I can make sure I'm staying over 60 FPS. I'm gonna turn on frame gen because the frame generation implementation in that game is flawless and it's not going to affect my experience. And I'm gonna have a great time playing a game that performs well and looks good. But sometimes that's not always the case. You gotta kind of pick and choose the game where it makes sense for it, and sometimes it doesn't. Some games, it makes sense to go 1440p because all the other settings are so difficult to run. People don't know this. A lot of PC gamers will know this. Shadows are expensive.
They are
for
so
no reason.
to your RAM.
Shadows really expensive to run on hardware, and then you could have less than ultra or max setting shadows and barely notice the difference. It's not that bad. One of the first things I turn down when I notice a game I'm running on PC isn't performing to expectations, I turn down shadows and see what can I live with, or does it even change? Half the time, it doesn't even change the visual presentation, but I get like 10, 15 frames off of it.
No, you know what's the funny thing is, we're talking about, and we're still talking about Hellblade here. When you played Hellblade, because you played it on PC too, I played it at 1440p. I was getting like 90, between 90 and 100 frames per second the whole time. And then I got to the end of the game where you got you were talking about shadows. When you're around that fire at the end of the game and all the lighting and the shadows are like kind of like trickling in and out in the environments and stuff. Dog, I was seeing the worst performance hit I've ever seen. Like I was dropping it to like the 40. Like dog, I was running 80 to 90 frames per second of the whole game. When you get to the end of that game and you got the fire ring and everything, and you're going through the villages and stuff, and you're having that fight at the very end with what's his name? Dog, my frame rate was tanking. I was like, I had to go in and like literally turn the shadows down because it was so crazy how taxing they were to the GPU at that time. So those are all like, I want you to go ahead and finish saying, but those are all little things that you could do there. And this isn't a debate about why you should play on PC versus console. This is just
not at all.
This is just
we're just trying to explain to people why it is the way it is, and why you see things visually look worse in performance mode on console, because like they're making those changes for you. Like on PC, we make those changes to tailor the experience for our hardware that we either put together ourselves on our rig, or put together a list and have someone else pre-build that, for the pre-build guys out there. That ain't you and me and Forte. We built our own, but to each their own. What I'm saying is that like this is the reason why console guys just aren't aware that all these things are changing behind the scenes. It's not just, hey, they drop resolution from 4K to 1080p. It's way, way more than that in order to get yourself a performance mode. But that doesn't mean it's less important. Long story short, fidelity mode, performance mode, they're equally important. And there are gamers that prefer both. If the numbers were flipped on PlayStation and only 25% prefer the performance mode, those 25% people, the people on that platform, are important, and their opinions are just as important as the 75%. So you should have both all the time.
You should.
At the bare minimum, you should have both for console gamers, because they already got less options. Giving them no option is just wrong. So,
this game
anything else you want to say on this before we?
No, I'm good. I'm just watching your gameplay, and I'm like, dude, this game is so good looking.
Right. And that's just the beginning.
I know. I like how the biggest thing, and I don't know if people notice it, like the little subtle things they did in the game, like when you get out of a fight after after parrying somebody and instant killing them. I like how she staggers backwards, and the camera has like this little wobble to it, where it kind of makes it feel like you're like she's exhausted after that fight. Like it's like the little things that they did around her animations. Like soon as you stabbed him in the neck, she like took a step back, the camera kind of wobbled to the left like she was falling over because she was exhausted. And she does that a lot throughout all the different fights in the games, the ones that you do have. It was just, and then don't get into the ones where you're fighting like 3 or 4 people at one time. If you time it good and you get like your parrying right, that game looks amazing when you're fighting people. They just don't do it enough in the game.
Yeah, I feel like the game. I feel like it's a balancing act. I wish the game was longer or had more combat to it or had more things to do in it and wasn't so short-lived. Yet I also would like to make sure that we had a story that was able to support more content. You know what I mean? I do kind of feel like that last character you get, the girl at the end, like I felt like they just kind of threw her in at the end. It's just like, yo, I don't even know who this chick is. And she's just like, we're already rolling into the conclusion of the game. And it's like, I just got her on the squad. Like, it's just like, it would have been nice to kind of have a little bit more time with those characters, but you need to make sure that like,
I agree,
the extra time you have is actually being put to good use. But let's move on to this last topic, which I hate having to talk about it, but it's what we do. You know, we talk about the games we play, but we also talk about how the state of the industry is. And it has been rumored, and, you know, Forte and I are not like insiders. We don't, let me just say it like this. We hear things because we know people, but we're not insiders because we don't tell people what we know. We don't make videos saying this is what's going to happen. So that's not like what we do here. But when it does get reported, we will discuss, and we will discuss some things that we've heard that we can talk about, and some things that we can't. Now, I've heard a lot of the things that you guys have heard about these Xbox layoffs. And according to Tom Warren of The Verge, cuts for Microsoft is coming sometime next week. And severe, these cuts look to be pretty severe, especially to the Xbox division itself. There was a rumor floated out there yesterday, I believe, or the day before, where it was saying that upwards of 1,000 to 2,000 employees may be laid off, which is it's annoying to me that you do that. And then more than likely that when they do their earnings calls, they're going to talk about how well healthy the business is. You can't call your business healthy and you just laid off 2,000 people, right? Not saying that's what the number is, but that's what's being rumored, right? Neither Forte or I can confirm that is true or not, but there are rumors of studios being shut down. I definitely hate to see that. We've already kind of went through that already last year with I'm blanking on the name of the studio. Arcane Austin, and what was the one that did Hi-Fi Rush? Tango Gameworks.
Tango Gameworks.
There's a rumor about Turn 10 being shut down. There are rumors that Turn 10 may not be the only one, that there may be other, and I've heard some things about some other ones that I'm not going to speak on, but like, I would really hate for that to be the case especially for Xbox studios, because I feel like they brought a lot of those studios in with the promise of, hey, look, just make the games that you make. You make good content. People, not everyone may not appreciate, those games, and they may never have the ability to reach large scale audiences. But we want to put your content in Game Pass. We want your content to really diversify our portfolio and really give our library pop, some flavor to it, you know, because we love the art that you make. And then they do that, and then you're like, well, it's a business. So sorry, we can't keep you. We're going to shut the studio down. Oh, hey, your last game didn't quite do the numbers we thought it would do. We're shutting you down or folding you into another studio. Like that's, I mean, I understand that's the business and that's how the industry works. But at the same time, it's like, I hate that cop out, that's the industry. That's how it works. It doesn't have to be how it works. It works that way because investors aren't going to take a L.
Nope.
So when executives make poor decisions, it's not the executives typically that take the L. If they make enough poor decisions, they're given the golden parachute to ride off in the sunset with. Meanwhile, everyone else, they're the ones that take the L. Like, I don't know how well internally they feel South of Midnight did, but I enjoyed South of Midnight. Like I think it's a very good game. I think it will be up for awards later this year, especially in like sound design, art direction. I think Compulsion did a great job. It's the best game they've ever made. And someone may say, well, SloMo, their first two games weren't that great. True. But you can't fault them for doing better than, you know, their previous work. This is what we wanted for them. We wanted them to make better quality games, and they did that. I would hate for them to not be able to make a sequel to this game, to a cool new main character that, you know, with an intellectual property that you can build off of. There's more stories to tell within that universe.
Mm-hmm.
There's more folklore to really dig into. But I would hate for, like Hi-Fi Rush, where you have a cool character in a cool world that you could build off of, and instead you shut down the studio. Hey, had to balance those budgets. It's just like when guys who crunch numbers for a living and don't have an artistic bone in their body make decisions for artists, it always turns out bad. And so I'm a pass it over to you, Forte. I don't have much else to say right now about this. What are your thoughts about all of this?
I mean, it's unfortunate, you know, rumors like this, and the thing is, we know that it's always a never-ending cycle of, you know, basically prove yourself. And, you know, with the amount that, you know, games cost now, if you don't meet the expectations of what that is, then it's a good chance that you might not be around. And that's across it. And even though we know Microsoft can fund almost things for eternity, you know, but that's not how they got their trillions of dollars. So they're not going to do that. But the one thing I will say around like some of these studios, like I hear about Turn 10 and stuff like that, and I'm like, that's unfortunate, but they also have Playground Games that has two studios that makes, you know, one studio's making Fable, the other one does Horizon. Not saying I would want anybody at Turn 10 to lose their job, but I can see a lot of people at Turn 10 just kind of being funneled over to something like, you know, the main team that works on the Horizon games.
Conflict, right? So you're saying like, we're not saying this happens. We're speculating here, but
speculation. But
they Turn 10 officially kind of goes away, but
a lot of
they
the
just
people,
kind of roll into Playground, where a lot of them join the Forza team, and then they'll be helping the Forza team make Forza Horizon, and then they'll alternate between making Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't think they'll
Also,
get rid of. I don't think they will
Turn
ever
10 runs. Turn 10 created Forza Tech Engine, which is what it runs Forza Horizon, and also what runs Fable. So
Yep.
if Turn 10 did get shut down, at the bare minimum, those engineers that update the engine, maintain it, all that good stuff,
they ain't going nowhere.
They ain't going nowhere. They're going to the Playground. What if, I'm gonna float this out here, and this is this would be a horrible decision if they did this.
But you gonna float it anyway, but go ahead.
Yeah. We've heard a lot of executives speak about being agile.
Yes.
We're in an environment in the world where we need to be agile.
You have to adapt quick.
Right. And there's AI. The AI is growing. Seeing developers talk about how they use AI to bug test their games. Mm-hmm. And AI can be more efficient in doing that than a whole, team of bug testers, because they can do it faster. As that's expanding, and you may need less, for example, artists. You may have needed 30 artists before, but now you really just need 5. And then you can have train AI to iterate off of what those 5 artists make to make more of the same. And then just let those artists make corrections, kind of prompt AI to do it a little differently this time. Take this little part, make that a little differently. Kind of coax it along, instead of having the pay for the salaries of 25 extra people. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that this is how they think. What if they decided, let's have rolling artists that don't necessarily work for one studio, but we'll call them something like how Sony has XDev, and XDev does cutscenes and cinematics and mocap for all their games. What if they started having teams that they're just using AI to help them get all this extra work done, but they don't necessarily work for Playground. They don't necessarily work for the Coalition, but they're working on all those games. The reason why I say I think this would be a horrible idea is that I feel like we've seen something similar with Ubisoft. So remember, like how I've said before, how Ubisoft has like 5 to 6 developers working on each game. They'll have like 1 or 2 main developers, and then like 3 to 4 support teams all helping.
Right.
Those support teams will be doing stuff like they're in charge of making the buildings in Far Cry, but then they're also in charge of making the buildings in Ghost Recon Wildlands, and then Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And then people start to notice that the buildings in Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint and Far Cry 5 are the same buildings with like different degrees of age on them. Like that kind of makes people feel like you cutting too many corners.
Right.
And I think that also contributed to the sameness of Ubisoft games, where people said, "Yo, it's the same game design." So take your game designers. If you got the same game designers that are rotating through all these studios, and you're doing this now that you've cut all these people, and you feel like, well, we don't need all those people no more. We got one team that does this for all of our teams. You're going to have a lot of similarities between games and that takes away its uniqueness. Like, I don't want State of Decay 3 to feel like South of Midnight, because that's State of Decay 3 and this is South of Midnight. They should feel different. And so I'm not saying that could be what's coming in the future. I'm just saying that, like, these are the kind of, I am saying for certain, these are the kind of questions that are being asked in meetings. Dumb questions, in my opinion. Because I don't think that is conducive to good work. Having a studio like XDev, that's an internal studio that doesn't make games, they just do cinematics for Sony. That's one thing. Like, but doing cinematics isn't building the game.
Right.
You know? Like, that's a whole different story. Like, I'm just hoping that, like, if it really is that many people being laid off, that they're not laying them off in order to integrate AI further into game development, when I think Xbox is just getting their feet under them and just doing regular game development good and being consistent with that.
Right.
That makes
sense.
Anything else you want to say on this, man?
No, man, just the biggest, going back to what we were talking about earlier, we don't know nothing. we just, these are just things that we hear, and then, it's nothing wrong with talking about it. But I always tell people, if it's one of your favorite studios, always try to support them. Even if they're in Game Pass, your download helps. I mean, if you don't like the game or you don't care for the game, then don't do that. But we're in an age of gaming where it's sink or swim, literally. Most games already have their, dedicated fan bases. I mean, let's just talk about one of them, and let's talk about Bungie. All the stuff that Bungie's gone through, or they done to themselves, I should say, over the course of the last year to 2 years. People still support that studio because of the overall track record of the games. Yeah, you might have fell in love with the games and fell out of love with them, but over the course of the time that Bungie has been around, they've always kind of had a good grips on just what their games are going to be, with the exception of what the heck Marathon is right now. Even going back to Halo, then you start thinking like Warframe, with Digital Extremes. That's a consistency with those studios, and people are willing to like support those studios no matter what, and they want to see them do good. So hearing things like Turn 10 and hearing things that happened with Tango Gameworks is stuff that we don't want to hear. But the only way we can kind of help that not happen, or at least do our part, is by supporting these games. And if you're on Xbox, you really have no reason not to support them. At least download it and try it out, because you get it in your Game Pass subscription if you have one. If you don't have it, then don't worry about it. But if you do, I try out a bunch of games on Game Pass just to see if they're like something I want to play. And if I don't want to play it, I just uninstall it. Or perfect example, I'll just do the cloud streaming, because it boots it instantly, and you can kind of try it out that way and see if it's something that you want to try. I just think at this point we're at that pillar, that moment in gaming where if we're not willing to like step away from the games that we're comfortable with to try other things, or at least see that if we're interested in other things, we're going to get a lot less games, like games that we really, really want, because nobody is going to try to do something new outside of the indie space or the super AA space to try to entice us to play their games, because there's games like Fortnite out there that we play every day, or Call of Duty, or, Destiny for 10 years. They already got their hooks in us, and it's our responsibility to say, hey, I can take a break from this and try to see what this next game is about. Doesn't mean I need to put a lot of time into it, but at least start giving games that you are thinking about your time. I never thought I would play Death Stranding because I don't want to, but I do like the fact that it's something. I mean, Sony gave me a free code, straight up transparency. I feel like I need to play it just because they gave me that code. I need to at least try it to say, hey, is this something about this game that I actually might like, instead of just saying, oh, it's trash and I don't want to be a delivery man. But that's gonna be my way of giving back to them by saying like, yo, thanks for the free code. I'm gonna definitely try out the game. That's something that we kind of need to do, because I don't want to get to the point in the future where we're not getting any games like games that we care about, because they don't feel like they can take chances because people aren't, going out of their comfort zone to play them. But that's it, man. Other than that, man, it's been a great show with you, SloMo, and can't wait to do this again with you next week, bro.
All right. I agree, man. And then I think the conversation in chat's been pretty fantastic. Let me go ahead and end this poll, which has 73% of y'all, 72% of y'all would like me to stream Death Stranding 2. So I look for a stream this weekend. It's either going to be Death Stranding 2, or it's going to be the Borderlands stream that I keep putting off. So it'll be one of those, probably tomorrow at the most likely. So we'll see. But I have to move my PlayStation over to.
Yes, you do. Gotta make it happen, bro. Can't wait. Make it happen, bro.
So yeah, I'll get it done. We'll get the stream going. But that's all I'm really going to be doing over the next week. Streaming wise for me, or content wise for me. Forte, are you going to make any videos? Huh?
Actually, I was real close to making a video yesterday.
Oh, really?
I was. I was sitting there. I ain't gonna say what I was actually doing, because then you'll laugh at me. But I was actually sitting there, and I was like, and I was starting to talk to Attic, and I was like, Attic, I kind of want to make a video. And but yeah, I actually do have the bug to actually make something, because I was like looking. Okay, I'll just tell you what it was. And
no,
I think I'm still,
don't tell me. No, I don't want to know. Make the video. Put it out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I will see what you were going to talk about in the video after you watch the video.
Okay, I'll do that. Video will be coming soon.
All right, we're getting out of here, y'all, and but hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I know we were not on our normal night, but next week we hopefully no longer any other things going on, vacations and whatnot. We will be back to our normal time of Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. Central.
Yep.
And hope you guys enjoy the rest of the night, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you later.
Peace.